Morning, and thanks for joining us. Purdue will try to salvage something from its football season tonight when it faces Michigan State. Alan, do the Boilermakers have a chance?
Well, if you look at the past 9 or 10 games, it's been a really rough road. 9 games, I should say, the Boilermakers losing streak. Michigan State has got a very mobile quarterback in Aiden Childs and a team that has not been playing well lately. They're on a losing streak as well, but they are at home. It's going to be a rough one for Purdue, I think, in a very cold and blustery night in East Lansing, and that will add to it. Purdue will have to find some motivation to stay in this game, something that Purdue has not done very often here in the last 9 or 10 weeks. That's what's made it challenging for the Boilermakers.
And it's always cold in Michigan. I know my son, he played at Grand Valley State in Michigan, and we went to lots of games in Michigan. Yeah. It is rough. So, okay, let's get to tonight's prediction. Out of the way, how do you see this game going?
I think Michigan State's will dominate this game. Hopefully Purdue can make it a 4-quarter game. The Boilermakers are a couple touchdown underdog by Vegas, but I see Michigan State pulling ahead at the end, 34-17. The Spartans win in this nationally televised game tonight. It's going to be a tough one for the Boilermakers.
So what has gone wrong with them this season?
Well, I think it's been a number of different things, but really it's been just a colossal lack of execution. I mean, Purdue has not been able to get the job done in a number of different phases of the game. That's what's been very, very disappointing when you look at the way that the Boilermakers have, last week's game against Penn State. Penn State just rolled over Purdue. The games have not been competitive, and Purdue hasn't been able to come up with the plays they've needed to at the right time to be able to do that. This is a classic example here. You get a touchdown and you have your receiver, Delano Morissette, outside of the end zone. A mistake that he didn't try to make, but it's still a mistake, still the same. Penn State ran all over Purdue. That has been the storyline of this season.
Yes, it has. Well, is Ryan Walters in danger of losing his job after 2 years, do you think?
Well, there have been some cases, and certainly in college football this year, where that's happened. And the fan base is obviously, when you're 1-9 and heading into the last 2 games of the season, it's not a happy place for Purdue. It's going to be an interesting next 10 days. You have to kind of keep track to see what happens, because there's a lot going on after the bucket game next week. Recruiting, the first day of National Signing Day comes up early December. The transfer portal opens. Purdue will have to make a decision on what direction it wants to head, and it certainly is not out without the realm of possibility that Ryan or some major changes will be made in that football program.
Purdue fans like the big W's, don't they?
Well, you want to win, and that's the tough thing, is it's not been competitive. That's been a hard thing for the Boilermakers.
That's true. Well, the Purdue men's basketball team saw its 39-game winning streak in non-conference play come to an end Tuesday night. What did they learn? Well,
it's a good question. I think Purdue ran into a buzzsaw in terms of a team in Marquette that was really, really skilled. The Boilermakers had the chance to maybe shoot its way back into this game, but Marquette is a team that really can do some things that Purdue hadn't seen from a defensive standpoint. They caused Purdue to be very, very out of sync. And all good things, Stacy, have to come to an end. 39 consecutive games is one of the streaks that you'll not see probably again in a long time in terms of non-conference play. But give Marquette credit. They were the better team. Purdue has some things to work on, has to find outside of those 3 players. When you talk about Fletcher Loyer and Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn, they need to have consistent help outside of those 3 if the Boilermakers are going to have the season that they want to have. But I still like their chances to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, everything was hitting for them then.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, Purdue plays Marshall tomorrow at noon, but the Boilermakers have some challenges still left in non-conference play.
Well, one of the things Matt Painter has done is he's scheduled some of the best teams, and that has made Purdue pretty good and pretty salty when it came after the new year. Some games to watch for. Obviously, Thanksgiving Day at 3 o'clock, right in the middle of your Thanksgiving dinner, Purdue plays North Carolina State. A game that's going to be interesting to see. Also, December 14th against Texas A&M in a game in Indianapolis at noon. And Auburn, another team that ranked 4th in the country right now. Purdue will have to travel on the road. And then you tie in, Stacy, Purdue's first conference games when they go to Penn State the first week of December, and then Maryland at home. It's a challenging schedule for Matt Painter and company, but I think a team that's going to be able to live up to most of those expectations.
Sounds good. Alan, so what's some of your guests for the Gold and Black?
Well, we're going to have some fun today at 2 o'clock on a game day. Kind of rare to have that on a Friday. Ryan Smith, a Purdue men's basketball player, former Purdue men's basketball player, and also a John Purdue Club member, assistant director. We'll talk some Purdue basketball. We're going to break down tonight's game and tomorrow's game against Marshall with our staff here at goldenblack.com. Should be a good show today at 2 o'clock.
Always a good show. Okay, well, we'll see you the day before Thanksgiving as we look ahead to the Old Oaken Bucket Battle.